Wemden zamden kes buwem komar wadas san doi we sinyon patkuya nyamo hutra yin. We need to be very, very careful, especially when we lose our identity. There won't be no more services for us. We'll just like be the non-Indian out there.
So my name is Lena, and your host on Resilient. My main goal for this podcast is to highlight some of my favorite people in Indian country. Today, I'm talking with former Olympic chef, over 15 plus years of experience. Please, by all means, go ahead.
Well, my name is Laliberte. I'm from, I was born in Saskatchewan from the Cree and Métis Nation. Tansi.
Yes. Welcome. All right. So this show is, it's all about you today. So basically, I just wanted to get to know you and who you are so that I can tell everybody else, who it is that I personally like to follow on your platform on Instagram. I believe I do follow you on Facebook as well. Your website, One Arrow, is it onearrow.com, right?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
onearrowmeats.com.
Onearrowmeats.com. Talk to me a little bit about how it is that you grew up. Growing up, where did you live?
Let's start off with I was adopted really young, and I was born in Humboldt, Saskatchewan. So that's a very small town in northern Saskatchewan. And I was adopted into a Caucasian family and grew up in Saskatoon. And yeah, I spent my like childhood and my teen years there before I moved to BC. We grew up pretty poor. We had to use the food bank, and my mom was like, she had a grade 9 education. So she was working menial jobs, and we were, struggling to get by and like paying rent and everything.
And this was your adoptive parents?
Yeah, this is my adoptive parents. So my mom actually split with my adoptive father when I was really young. So I think I was about 4. So I hadn't seen him for a long time. But yeah, my mom remarried, and then we just, I hadn't seen him again. Like I actually saw him 30 years later. Yeah, we just grew up really poor, and it was like definitely a struggle. My mom working these jobs and trying to put food on the table. And my mom was actually kind of a hustler. So He was somebody that would, she'd join churches around the city. So we would get Christmas presents.
She's got to do what she has to do, right? She's trying to provide.
Yeah.
Single parent. And how many siblings did you have, or was it just yourself?
No, I had a brother, and he's passed away now, but I had a brother and a sister, Jo, who's 2 years younger than I am. She actually lives with me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're super, super close.
That's great. That's great to hear. Okay. So your mom's a hustler. You guys are going through life. Were you homeschooled? Did you go to school? Like what did you do?
I went to Catholic school. So.
Oh, wow.
So I went to school and went to Catholic high school as well. And growing up, I had always struggled, having a relationship with my mother. And so probably from 16 until we ended up moving to BC, I was running away a lot and, living with people that I babysat for, because my mom, like now reflecting back, I'm pretty sure that she struggled with her mental health and could have been, I'm not like a psychologist, but I'm pretty sure she struggled with some sort of mental disorder that made her, fly off the handle. And
so she was probably like bipolar or something.
Yeah, possibly.
Something like that.
And she also started to abuse painkillers. And I had no idea. Like it was something, now reflecting back, being older, I'm like, she became addicted to opioids.
And so were you running away because she was like lashing out, or because you seen her in like these bad states or whatnot off of pills? Were you running away because of that, or what was it? What was your reasoning?
I don't know. We just always fought, and she kind of always picked on me, but also I was also questioning, even from when I was young. I knew that I was adopted because I didn't look like her. And so I always had questions, and I think she resented the fact that I think I was 15 or 14 years old, and I asked her, who is my birth mother? And I think she became...
Oh, wow. So you just came straight out and said that?
Yeah. And if she was being mean or like abusive, I would call her out on it. And it really, my sister was smart where she would become best friends with my mom, but she was like, my mom was just super manipulative, but I would always speak up for myself, or if she was acting in a way that I felt like was not, motherly, I would call her out, and she just would freak out.
Was your younger sibling her biological child, or was she adopted too?
We were all adopted.
You were all adopted? Okay.
Yeah.
Did she treat all the kids like that then? Or did you just think she was singling you out?
She definitely singled me out. I was the oldest too. So,
okay.
She
probably expected way more of you as well.
Yeah. But I was also protective of my brother and sister as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like stick up for them, and she didn't like that. She didn't like that I challenged her all the time.
Yeah, you probably didn't even know why you were really challenging her too. You just knew something was wrong. Something was odd. You didn't fit in.
Yeah.
So, it had to be a hard experience for you there. Okay, so you're on 15, 16, and what did she say after you asked her that if you were adopted or who your biological parents were, or what was the experience like? What did she say?
She told me that my mother was a whore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was, that's pretty much word for word what she said. I didn't believe that, even though I was young, I was like, she's just saying this to hurt me. But, that's
exactly what I was going to say. Is she saying it to hurt you because you're asking about it, because you don't see value in her or something, or because you guys are fighting, or maybe she's just jealous or something of that you are trying to come out and see what's really going on or where you're from? Did she say anything about your father at all?
No, she didn't actually speak about like my birth father, but I don't know how it came about. I don't even think I saw the adoption papers because I don't think she had them, but I guess I just was wanting to know who my birth mother was. I didn't even ask about who my birth father was. It was about my mother.
So obviously, yeah, you're definitely missing something there. So after that, then what happened? What type of path were you on?
Well, I was the people that I babysat for, they lived down the block. And so they let me move into their basement. And so just because it was just a volatile household, and I did not want to go home because, my mom had just gotten a divorce from her husband at the time. And so it was just a really unstable household where she was going out partying all the time. And so I don't know, there was just no like family, there was no like parental guidance and everything. And I just didn't want to be living there. And so I just like moved in with these people I babysat for, and they were really nice. And they were,
so did they provide that structure for you that you were seeking?
Yeah, they did. But I only lived with them for the summer. But yeah, they're really nice. They welcomed me because they knew what my mom was like and stuff like that. So I lived with them for the summer, and then my mom gave me a phone call, and she threatened to call the cops on them, saying that they kidnapped me. So that she did a lot of threatening to them, and they're like, your mom's threatening us with this, and
so you kind of had to leave there.
Yeah, and then she called me one day and said that she's moving to BC and that she's taking my brother and my sister, and I didn't want to stay in Saskatoon. Like, I knew that deep down that I was, LGBTQ. I hadn't realized at that time that I was transgendered, but I knew that I was like queer. I knew that I was like in the spectrum of some queerness. And I knew that if I moved to BC, that there would be an opportunity for me to be able to like explore that and just like be around people that were like me. So plus I didn't want to leave my brother and sister with my mom.
Were you still around the 15, 16 age when you knew that you were part of the LGBTQ community?
Yeah. Like ever since I was a kid, I knew I was different. I just didn't know how to like put that into words. It was just a feeling. But yeah, she told me that she's moving at the end of like August or something, like right before school started. And so I decided that I'd go back home and move with them to BC.
Okay. And so at what age do you think that you really found out that, you were questioning yourself?
Well, I would have been 4. Like it was like preschool and like kindergarten.
Same for me. Kindergarten, I knew.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was more like, I would I just thought I was like born a like cis male. And then, and then I was like, you're a girl. And I'm like, no, I'm not a girl. I'm a boy. And she tried to put dresses on me and dress me in a certain way. And I just hated it. And I just felt like I wanted to crawl out of my own skin, like, and putting any sort of clothes on that were like female. And, it just made me feel like so weird. I don't know the feeling except for like being like a knot in your stomach and like wanting to crawl out of your own skin.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like I used to hate when my parents would make me wear dresses to church. I hated it. I had my basketball shoes or whatever shoes on I had with the stupid ugly dresses that they would make me wear. And it's just like, you're not yourself. You're not comfortable. You're not, I don't know. It's just, just a weird feeling that you have that is not yourself.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So, and then just younger, being the age that I am, just being younger. I mean, you can talk about, liking the same sex or anything like that because all of it's still frowned upon now these days. I mean, they just come out the womb and they're like, here I am,
yeah.
Which is great. That's super awesome, but I mean, we did struggle, like just thinking about that and just like how you brought that up. And you went to Catholic school too. So you probably, were forced to, dress a certain way or behave a certain way, something like that too. Am I right?
Not like, it wasn't like a dress code or anything like that.
Okay.
But definitely, we had religious studies and, people were homophobic, man, just like the bullying that I saw in high school. It's like, you have to keep that queerness a secret, where I think now these days it's like queer people are still, I think there's more acceptance now. With this new generation of like people that are gender fluid and
most definitely,
you know what I mean? Like people that are non-binary. It's like transgendered when I was a teenager was like, oh, you're like a freak, it's like, and this was in small town, like small city, Saskatchewan. And so I knew that
even worse. Yeah, definitely.
I knew it. And it was all like prairies and cowboys and people like, so many like white people out there. And there was like this like racial divide between like Native people and like white people, just so much racism. And I knew that if I had stayed in a place that was so suppressive that I would probably not have transitioned and, I would be living a lie or like being unhappy, not being able to like live my truth. So I just had to suck it up and say I'm going to move with my mother to BC.
Okay, so now you guys are in BC. Now what's going on? What's the setting like there?
Well, we moved to a small town called Aldergrove, and we were living. My mom took a job as like a caretaker of this older guy, like older gentleman that owned a gold mine. His name was Slim, and we like lived in the basement of this. We were living with like my mom's childhood friend, her husband, this old guy and his wife. And then me and my sister shared a room in this basement. It was just, like weird. I felt like a squatter. I never felt like it was like actually our home. Mm-hmm. And then they ended up converting this garage into like 2 bedrooms. And so then we moved into this garage in this like renovated, like an illegal suite, basically. It was not like, I swear to God, there was like no inspectors that came to the place. They just were like, we're going to make some bedrooms in this garage. And
it kind of sounds like you grew up on the reservation, because that's exactly what we've had when we were little.
Yeah. And it's like, rats, we could hear like rats scurrying around in the basement or in the basement of this like garage. And I don't know, it was crazy. But also I was like, again, I started running away again and started living with friends. I just did not want to be around my mother because we just fought all the time and there's just always conflict. So even right from the get-go, probably 2 months into moving to BC, I was already like out
doing your own thing,
couch hopping and like living with people and, living with a girlfriend for a little bit.
Were you still in school at that time or no?
I was in school, but I did end up dropping out.
Okay.
Yeah. Just, I didn't like going to school and I didn't fit in, and it just was like, again, just issues with fitting in school and making friends and just feeling uncomfortable with who I was and being forced to like put on a facade of presenting as female. It just was like, I just dropped
So
out.
when did you start to change then? When did you start to take on and, hold yourself accountable for who you wanted to be? When was that time?
Well, I had moved to Vancouver when I think I was 20.
Okay.
And so I moved there and I started making friends in the community. Like, oh man, as soon as I came to Vancouver, I just was like, felt so much relief because I was around people that were queer. And I started going to like all these gay bars. And then this one night I went out to a drag show and I saw drag kings perform. And it was like, I was like, oh man, I totally want to do that. Like I want to perform and dance on stage and have a persona. And so I entered this like drag king competition and won. And then I won a spot in like a drag troupe. And then I started performing and I think being able to express myself through drag and performing and just being more comfortable in my own skin, I was able to and I met trans guys and just able to meet people like trans guys. And I was like, okay, you're like who
I want to be. Yeah. That's who I am, just not yet or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. And so, yeah, just meeting people like that and just feeling like I was able to like finally feel like I had a family. And I felt like I had this family in this queer community. I have friends that in that drag troupe that I'm still friends with today. Like the majority of us, we hang out,
So did they help you come to terms with what you were feeling inside? Were they trying to help you like be more expressive? Like what was it that was so important to you that they brought to you? I know you said that they were more like your family, but what is that to you?
I think just accepting who you are, like accepting you as who you are. Cause this whole entire, like ever since I was young, I felt like you don't belong, you're weird, you're a freak. Like, you know what I mean? Like just this feeling of not belonging. And once I went into the queer community, I was like, holy shit, I'm like a performer that's a star. And that, our drag troupe got pretty big in Vancouver. We were throwing shows all the time.
I was just going to say, like, you had to be traveling everywhere.
Yeah, we did shows in Chicago, DC, Austin, Texas. Like there was a whole drag king community in the States. And so we were super young. We were like, 22, 21, 22, 23, 24. And so we were able to make all these connections with other drag troupes. Like you guys have so many drag troupes in the States.
Oh yeah, there's tons of them.
But yeah, anyways, it was just really cool. And I was able to, around that time I started actually going into hormone therapy too. So I was able to like start transitioning and getting all the surgeries done and all that. So yeah, it was crazy.
So is it expensive then? Like just surgeries? What all have you done and what all do you plan to do?
Well, the hormone therapy, it's not too bad. Like testosterone isn't that expensive. It's covered by my medical. My top surgery costed about, I think, $11,000. And then I had to take off 6 weeks from work. So there's that, having to save up for all that time missed.
Does insurance pay for any of that at all?
I got some covered, I think maybe $4,000.
Okay.
So I just sent in like my medical receipt for my taxes and they like reimbursed me a little bit. So it was better than nothing at all.
Better than nothing. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then I had a hysterectomy 2 years ago. And so that was, I think recovery time was a month or so.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's what I've had done so far.
Okay. Do you plan to go any further at all?
Like, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Yeah, because I always just wondered that because some people are different. Some people want, get the bottom surgery or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, that's awesome. I just want to know how much it costs, like what the time, like you said right now, like 6 weeks, that type of thing. That's a lot of time out. Yeah. But it's also a lot of dedication to yourself and trying to be true to yourself, true to who you are. Mm-hmm. I believe. So yeah, more power to you. That's awesome. I'm glad you're feeling great in your own skin. All right. So we're getting this. You're in the dance troupe, or not the dance troupe, but the drag troupe and whatnot. So after that, what is it that you're doing? Where are you at and how old are you?
Well, I'm 25 years old, 24, 25. And I'm not really working at any good jobs. Like I worked at like a coffee chain, like Tim Hortons. I had worked there since I was like 18, but I was just kind of bouncing around from like Tim Hortons, and I worked at like a gay pub for a little bit called Sugar Daddies, and then I got a job at Moxie's, which is like it's like a casual fine dining restaurant chain up here in BC.
Okay.
And so I just started working there. Actually, my dream, I really
What
wanted.
were you doing there? Were you like serving, bartending in the back?
I wanted to be a bartender. Like I was like, oh, I love going out. I love being around people and like interacting with people. So
Yeah, you seem pretty social.
yeah, I wanted to like be a bartender. Actually applied at this like club down the street from Moxie's called Celebrities. And I was like, I want to be a bartender. And I was like so young. And they're like, do you have any bartending experience? I'm like, no, but I really want to. And they're like, yeah.
But I'm really nice and fun. People will like me.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, the tips are really good. Just because I went to this club like 3 times a week. So I was like, I'm already here. So why not?
Yeah, I could work here. Everybody already knows me.
Yeah. But anyways, so I didn't get hired. I didn't have the experience. So I walked down the street with my resume and applied at this fine dining casual restaurant. And they hired me on as like a cook. And so, you know, it was like, I think I was making like $8.25 an hour.
Wait, did you have cooking experience?
Yeah, like a little bit.
Okay.
Barely, like just minimal. But I was just very enthusiastic in the interview. They're like, yeah, we'll hire you on. So I got hired on as this cook. And then I just worked my way up, but also started making, you know, friends there. Again, like I've always had this sense of not having, you know, a family, like a core family, like just the way that I was brought up. So yeah. I found like my second family in this group of cooks and like servers and everything. And we just became super tight. So for me, it was like, again, a sense of belonging. And I think cooking really brought me structure and it brought me discipline, even though it was like a place that was, you know, it's not the fanciest of places, but it definitely helped me bring me structure and all that. And I really looked up to a lot of the people, like a lot of the guys there kind of took me under their wing. Anyways, so I worked there for a few years. And then one of the drag kings in our drag king troupe had worked at a hotel as a cook, like a nice hotel. And so she got me an interview and then I got hired on to work there. It was the Westin chain.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of it seems like Moxie kickstarted, you know, your career to okay, so now you're at Westin, and
I met this guy named JP, and JP was like, me and him were just like got along like a house on fire, and he became like a.
Normally people say two peas in a pod, but you're like a house on fire, all right?
Yeah, we're just like brothers. He was the best man at my wedding, but he took me under his wing. He showed me so like how to cook, and he just was like he's just like my big brother, and he still is like my big brother. But yeah, he's like super supportive of me. And, you know, and during that time I had lost my brother and my mother within like a year of each other. That was like, you know, super traumatizing for me, you know, cause my brother was walking home one night from 7-Eleven and somebody had attacked him in the alley as he was like walking home. He was like murdered in cold blood, and still to this day, nobody knows who killed him.
They haven't found the killer?
No. And, you know, just like reading the newspaper and everything, they said like, you know, Native man is murdered. Like they just like immediately brought his like nationality into like the media. So
instead of saying, you know, he's a good person or he's in school or he's this or that, he's a Native man.
Yeah, Native man. But also they said like they added the term like drunk in there. They interviewed somebody that was like not really his friend that said he was really drunk, and I asked him to leave my house. And I don't know, like it just really pissed me off because they did not contact me, my mother, my sister. They contacted, I don't even know how they got these other people's numbers, but they said, you know, and my brother was like special needs. So he was fetal alcohol syndrome kid. So he had like, you know, a learning disability. He had a speech impediment. He had like really bad eyes. Like he wore like Coke bottle glasses. Like he just was like this socially awkward teenager that I just wish they had given him more respect when they put him on the fucking front page of a newspaper.
Right. They just super stereotyped him.
Exactly. And still to this day, nobody's like, I don't know, man. They just haven't found anybody that's committed the crime. And my mom, before she passed, she called the police like once a week to figure out who did this. But yeah, they still don't know. And we set up a memorial, and Is
it an open case?
Yeah. And, you know, there's a beautiful mural behind the Safeway where my brother was living, and there's a mural spray painted of him. And so we go there and we put flowers, and I pour out a can of liquor for him when we go visit his memorial site. But yeah, it's fucking insane to have to go through that. And then
still not have the peace of mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, after my brother passed away, my mom she lived in the same complex as my brother. My mom moved probably a couple months later, way up north. She moved like in the middle of nowhere. And she was like, I think she just started abusing the pills again, because sometimes I talked to her on the phone and she was slurring her words. And yeah. And then I got a phone call like a year later, like not a year later, 8 months later. It was like in August. It was like a month after her birthday. My friend called me and said that she had to see me at work. I was at work and I was supposed to perform that night at the bar. And so my friend was like, I need to come see you. And her voice, I could tell that I was so scared that my sister died, because me and my sister are so close, that I was had this pit in my stomach. And like two of my friends that came there, they gave me the phone, and my sister's voice was on the cell phone. And I was like, she's like, mom died last night. And I was like, holy shit. And I just like crumbled to the floor and started bawling my eyes out. And then the manager on duty gave us like a taxi voucher to go to my sister's place in New West, and then I stayed with my sister, and then we just had to plan to go up to 100 Mile and organize my mom's funeral. And it was just kind of like surreal, because we had just lost our brother, and now we have to go
plan bury your mother. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
Sounds like a rough time, and my condolences to you and your family. So how are you feeling then? What was your next plan after that? After you were dealing with the death of your brother and also having to bury your mother? Well,
basically I went to like this really dark place. I really struggled with, I don't know, just coming to terms with those two major losses, that I started partying a lot. I wouldn't even want to go home. I would never want to be alone. I could not be alone ever. So I just started, even though I had my own place, I would just find an excuse to go out and like party all night long. So I just was pretty much a mess for like almost 2 years. I just was like out of control, and I stopped focusing on cooking. I just was like, I needed, that's when my friend stepped in and was just like, dude, like, what are you doing with your life? Why are you just like, you're just so out of control? I would go to work and I would not sleep because I would just party so much. So obviously I was just like running away from having to deal with those losses.
Yeah. We all self-destruct somehow.
Yeah. And I was just in that period of my life where I just was like, I didn't care about myself, and I just was distracting myself with being around people and being like the funnest partier and just being stupid with my money. And I don't know, I just was just like running away.
So what turned it around?
Definitely going to culinary school.
What made you do that?
I had a chef talk to me and say, you need to, actually I signed up for school. Because my buddy was like, you need to like do something, and just like, you're like fucking 27. Like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, fine, I'll go to school. And so I like sign up for school. I paid everything. And then I don't show up. To school because the night before I went to the bar and partied till like 6 a.m. So I like self-sabotaged myself. I lost my deposit. I lost my everything for school. It was paid for. So I didn't get it back. Yeah. And so I was very ashamed that I did that. And then I flake out on going to school. I self-sabotage. And then I get in shit from my buddy, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I know that you're just like doing this on purpose. So I was like, fine, I sign up again for school, but I do it through like this program it's like a Indigenous Friendship Center in East Van. I signed up with them with like a career coach, and they're like, all right, we're going to help you pay for school, because I had already like spent that money that was like gone because I didn't show up for school.
Because you didn't show up, yeah.
So anyways, they're like, we'll sponsor you to go to culinary school. So I was like, okay, sweet. They're going to sponsor me. I'm responsible for them because they're paying for me. They're paying for my books. So there's no way I can bail on like this because.
Yeah, it's like showtime. You have to be on point.
Yeah. So sucked it up. I was terrified of going to school because I didn't think I was worthy enough to go there. I felt like I would be the worst student. I felt like I would suck, and that just all these negative thoughts of like, you're not good enough. Like, you don't deserve this.
Do you think that's what you were thinking the night before when you were at the bar till 6 a.m.?
Yeah, sure. I was just scared.
Yeah.
And I wasn't properly prepared.
Of course, so you're going to turn to something that you're comfortable with. Got it. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyways, I go to school. And do the program. It's like this apprenticeship culinary program. So where you go to school at this college and you're able to work at the same time. So I was working full time and then going to school. Yeah, I was like the top student in my class by the end of the course. Yeah, and then I just did the second year.
Who are you right now?
I just like go to class, and I was like, oh, this isn't as intimidating as I thought it would be. Everybody else is terrified as well, everybody's.
Yeah, but you're like, okay, I suck, I hate myself, let me teach you. You just totally changed it around. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I did the culinary program, apprenticeship program, finished top of my class for both courses, and then did the course. And then I just was like, man, what was I so afraid of? Why was I so afraid of like failure or like looking like a fool? It's like, I should not give a shit what anybody thinks about me. And so I started volunteering at food and wine festivals. So I flew down to San Francisco and I stayed there and volunteered at the food and wine festival a couple years in a row. I started like staging at restaurants, and then at the hotel, I had already been there for a while. So I quit and went to go work at Vancouver's top seafood restaurant. I talked to Frank and I showed up with my resume and I dressed up and I said, I really want to work for you. Can I stage here? And so I staged for the night. And
what does that mean?
It means where you like work for free. So you can help them out. You can help them do prep, or basically you're just, you're two free working hands for them.
Okay.
And you can see if you want to work there. And then at the end of the night, you get a meal, and then at the end of the night, chef will ask you, do you want to work here? And so I really liked how exciting it was. It was like a packed, 400 seat restaurant, and it was like flames flying and pans and clattering, and it was super exciting. And the adrenaline rush was like there. And so I just was like, yeah, I'll come work for you. That was like my next step from the hotel, was to go work at this restaurant.
Okay. And then how long did you stay at this other restaurant now?
Almost a year. Almost a year. And then my friend saw a job posting at this hotel, the Fairmont Pacific Rim. And he's like, dude, you should apply here. Like they got like sick benefits. It's like a brand new hotel. And then again, with my, the thought process in my head saying, you're not good enough. You can't get this job. I just had to shut it out. And so I applied for the job, and I got a phone call like a couple hours later from handing in emailing and the resume. I had a really awesome cover letter saying why I wanted to work there and what I wanted to learn and what I could offer. And I think since I had such a passionate cover letter, that's why they were like, we want to hire you. That was like the stepping point. They had a charcuterie program there. And so that's where I learned how to butcher animals and process meats and whole primal cuts and how to make sausages and how to make terrines, how to make bacon. All of that started through that, just getting that spot, getting that position in that kitchen.
And then, okay, so you have this opportunity, you're learning all this great stuff. How are you mentally? Are you way better than you were before? Are you still in your self-destructive phase, or is all of that changing as well as you're moving up and you're getting these different opportunities?
Well, working at Blue Water Cafe definitely helped me with my confidence, because I just was able to see that, I had been stuck at the Moxie's and then at the hotel, and then just going to school. I think going to school was so important for me because I was able to be out, take off the blinders. You can meet other people in the city from other restaurants and see their skill set and be like, wow, you can perform as well or even better than some of these people. So you're okay. You're going to be fine, and just be brave and not. I started to I think just having that self-confidence of knowing that if you really, really work hard, that you can accomplish something. So when I had started working at the hotel, I was ready to go. I was ready to learn, super hungry to learn, and just willing to put as much hard work into learning as much as I could at this place. It was such an awesome place to work.
At that point in time in your life, it seems like you're doing pretty well. What are you doing? Are you involved in any relationships at this point? Are you still, who's your closest confidant? Are you still in the LGBTQ community? Are you doing anything for that particular community or anything like that at that point, or no?
Not as much, because when my mom and brother passed away, I started to kind of spiral, and then I stopped performing because I just couldn't put myself, I didn't want to be in public almost. I didn't want to get people to say, I'm so sorry. It just got kind of overbearing, having people give me condolences and stuff and feel sorry for me. It just made me feel awkward. So I stopped, performing. And then once I went to school, I just had to focus on cooking. So I just really restricted kind of who I was hanging out with. And I stopped hanging out with the people that were, bad influence. We were actually bad influences on each other. I wouldn't say that one person was bad influence on me. It was
more than the other. Yeah.
Yeah. We were not good for each other. So I just cut ties with people that were, that wouldn't help me with building my career. And then I started becoming friends with people that were like very, culinary arts driven, and that were chefs and people that I looked up to, people that I could learn from. I just started to build my circle around people that I felt would benefit me learning and growing as a chef. I also, when I first worked at the Fairmont, my first day, I met my future wife. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I met her.
Like how did that go?
Well, I knew she was special. I knew that I was attracted to her immediately. Like I walk into the walk-in cooler and she's putting away pallets of, there's the order that comes in for restaurants on like big pallets of vegetables and meat and everything. And so anyways, before we started working, we had to do this like orientation. They showed an orientation video of people that were like, I love working here. Cooking is like cooking for my family and I'll always cook with love. And that was her in the video.
Uh-huh.
I was like, man, she's so cute. And so she's like all like super like adorable and so nice. And so anyway, so I go into this cooler to get something for a recipe, and she's in there chucking boxes onto a shelf. She looks up and I was like, hey, I know you. And then she gives me this like fucked up look like, who are you? Like, and then I was like, oh, from the video. I know you from the video. And she's like, oh, they're still showing that thing. And then she's like, here, help me put away all these boxes. And I was like, okay.
All bitter.
Yeah.
You're not like the video.
Yeah. And I was like, what the hell? Like false advertising here. But she didn't work in the same kitchen, but she worked on the same floor. So I noticed that we're kind of like eyeing each other up when we're walking back and forth. And then it was like one of the guys at work, it was his birthday. And so I asked her to come to this birthday party, and she's like, whose birthday is it? And I was like, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday. And she's like, oh, I fucking hate that guy. And I was like, but I'll be there. And then she's like, okay, I'll think about it. But she totally shows up. You could tell that she like wore a low-cut shirt and like put on her makeup. And
she wore her best outfit, her flirty outfit.
Yeah, she showed up at like midnight, and she had to work at 5 o'clock the next morning. So I knew that there was like urge that she wanted to like, see me. Yeah.
And then, all flattered.
And then our first date, we ended up making out, and then we went on this date at the beach, and she was like, I hadn't told her I was trans, and I wanted to do this date at the beach and then walk her back to her house and just tell her, because I just wanted to like, be open with who I was.
Yeah.
So yeah, we go on this beautiful date at the beach and connect and have some wine. And then I walk her home, and then I'm like, I have to tell you something, I'm transgendered. And then she was like, oh, I already know. And I was like, what? How do you know? And she said that this guy at work like outed me to everybody behind my back.
Oh no.
Because it was a guy that I had culinary school with for level 2. So we took a course together, but I hadn't legally changed my name yet. So the instructor said my birth name.
Uh-huh.
And so I had to like, if you don't mark yourself as present, raise your hand and say, I'm here, I'm present at this class, then you get defaulted. Like basically they say you did a no-show. And I didn't want to have a no-show again because I did it the previous year. So I raised my hand, and so that outed me as like trans. And then anyways, it became like this huge thing. HR got involved, and I didn't even know, but this guy got reprimanded, and the HR didn't tell me about it, but somebody told on him, and somebody said that, hey, this guy is like outing somebody that's transgendered. That's not cool. And he ended up leaving the hotel like shortly after that. But that was like a really shitty experience.
I mean, it sounds like it. So she was already comfortable with it. So she went to the party for you, and you guys are on this date, and she already knew. So, I mean, that's a win-win.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, so then you guys, do you guys like automatically get in a relationship? You take it slow? What?
Oh, I moved in like 2 months later. We're just like, we just like clicked, and I just had never ever felt so in love and so comfortable with somebody ever before in my life. So it was just so weird. Sometimes I'm like, man, this my friend tells me about this position at this place. And then I'm like, man, like, what if I didn't apply for this job? I wouldn't have met her. Like, I just feel like things happen for a reason. I think the timing in people's life is when they're ready for it, is when they're ready for the next step.
Exactly. Same thing for your career. So your career, found love. What's next? What's the day like? You roll out of bed and you say to yourself, I'm going to start my own business. What is it? What's that day like?
Well, I'd worked at the hotel for over 5 years, and it's just so random. But I was on the computer and I saw this ad for an Indigenous entrepreneur program at the Friendship Center down in East Van. And so I just click on it, and it's like, have you ever wanted to start your own business? Come take this like program for free.
And that's the same place that sponsored you for school, right? Okay.
Yeah. So it was at the same place. It was at the same like organization. Yeah. It was hosted by like a provincial. It was like hosted by like the BC Métis Society and like another collaborative like Indigenous business BC organization. Anyway, so I take this course, and the instructors, they're like, if you could start your own business, what would it be? And it was very basic, but also it made me think like, okay, if I was going to start a business, what is it going to be? What are you talented at? What are you passionate about? How could you do this and like still be able to work or make money? So yeah, I just like worked so hard on what could I do? And so I decided that I would make bacon because, I was thinking about like what the market is for bacon. Plus it's like my favorite. I love bacon. It's like,
so while you were in school or while you were cooking at the hotels, that's something that you found that you like to work with a lot? Is that what it came from?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I love pork. It's my favorite meat, but bacon is something that is super special. It's very versatile. Pork belly is super versatile. There wasn't like a good bacon that I could find. Like there's always that like crappy, super processed, like injected,
super thin.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, I was good at making bacon. I was good at making bacon, charcuterie and everything. So I thought I could just like make bacon. I was like, I could make bacon in different flavors and sell it at the farmer's market. And I was like, boom, that's what I'm going to roll with for this like program. And we had to do like a elevator pitch. And then I did recipe development. So I ordered all this pork belly in, and I started making different glazes and different smoking temperatures and different smoking chips. Like I became like super obsessed with it because I got super excited because I'm like, man, this could actually be something. And so we had to do our final presentation. There was like a chief that came. There was like a big bank that came as well to judge. And then there was like our instructor was one of the judges as well. And so I did my pitch. I did cooking samples. That was awesome. So I cooked my product, had everybody in the class try it. So when we were doing our presentation plus the judges, so that was cool.
Yeah, you have a lot of different flavors too. And
yeah.
Just for bacon to have so many different flavors, I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. I was looking at that on your website.
Yeah. And so I was doing my elevator pitch, and then the judges were asking us questions like, where do you see yourself selling? And I'm like, I would love to start this business at the farmer's market. And I feel like I could do a lot of like product testing with them and just see if people would be interested in buying something like artisanal bacon. And then they're like, what else? Where else would you like to sell it? And so where the Friendship Center is across the street, there's BC Alberta grocery business called spud.ca. So they're like, they do grocery delivery services to people's homes. And so, I looked through the doors of this presentation of the elevator pitch, and I could see like through the doors, it's like spud.ca. And I just like point behind the judges, and I'm like, I'm going to sell my product there. In 1 year, I'm going to be in spud.ca. And so they're like, awesome, like super, that's a really great goal to have. For the course, I won the best presentation and elevator pitch. So that was cool because, that gave me the confidence to apply for the farmer's market.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, everybody believes in you, and it took you a long time to believe in yourself, but look at what you've accomplished. Look at what you pushed yourself to do. That's amazing in itself.
Yeah. It's like crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Okay. So then you applied to the farmer's market, and what happens after that?
Well, I applied at the farmer's market like summer of 2017, and I'm doing, I think, like a couple markets a month, and the product's like well received. Yeah, it just kind of kicks off from there. And I feel like it was like meant to be for me to do the farmer's market because I was able to meet so many amazing connections. Like one of my oldest customers, they're a queer couple. One of those customers is like works at this huge distribution company, like grocery chain, and she got me into one of the grocery chains in BC called Fresh Street. And so she was like, man, your bacon should be in this like grocery store. Let me like, connect you. So the farmer's market's good because you organically meet people that you can make really good connections with.
Yeah, exactly. In the places that you want to be in.
Exactly. Yeah. It's super genuine. It's authentic. And I felt like for me, it was not viable for me to quit my job and be like, I'm going to make bacon like right off the bat. It was like, I worked full time. And then I rented a space at this butcher shop down the street. I kid you not, I had a cart and a really small smoker. And I would, and I carted it up and down the street, like 3 blocks to this butcher shop. And I would smoke my bacon on his patio and then come home and then go back there. And then I'd slice it. Like it was like very like so much work to do that. But I was just so determined to get my product out to these people and just to like start somewhere and I just was like, there's no failure is not an option.
It's not. Yeah. And a lot of people, I mean, it's fear. Fear really stops you from doing anything and everything.
Exactly.
And people have a fear of us looking at you like you just said right now. I started with a cart and a small smoker. You started off small. That's everyone's fear, starting off small, because everybody always wants to see where you're at, like right now, where you're at. I'm pretty sure this is your full-time job now, right? One Arrow Meats is your full-time job. So It took you quite some time to get to where you're at right now.
Yeah.
But you would have never done it without that small crate or that small smoker.
Yeah.
You couldn't have done it without it. You had to start somewhere.
I think, and I don't think I'd be here without the support from the Indigenous community too. So, they supported me. They helped me go to culinary school, which gave me confidence to quit my job and go work at a really awesome restaurant, which then gave me more confidence to quit and work at an amazing hotel chain where I was able to learn how to make charcuterie. Like it's all like these steps, small baby steps that I took. And I was scared the whole time of like going on to the next step, but it's something that you have to do if you want to grow. And if you want to become successful, you just need to make those sacrifices and just say, fuck you to like being afraid and just know that you're good enough.
Exactly. I mean, you couldn't have said it better. So with the Friendship Center, what other opportunities has that opened for you within the Indigenous communities that you're surrounded by?
Well, there was the business program, like the entrepreneur program. Yeah, just like the trades program, the entrepreneur program.
Have any like other tribes or other Indigenous owned companies tried to reach out to you to network, to partner with you, to maybe have you do banquets or, wholesale, anything like that, like those types of opportunities?
I feel like most of the opportunities that I've had have actually been through Instagram and making connections through people in the community. So I've done some small catering gigs, but it was more so like for like trade. So, my buddy that made my beautiful logo, Josh, he had an art show. And so I don't want to make money off of your like, don't pay me to do the food, just pay for the food. I'll do all the work. I'll do all of like the spread for it. Mm-hmm. Making connections like that, again, with like Jolene's Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week fundraiser, again, helping people out in the community with like the food side of things, because there is a few chefs in Vancouver that are Indigenous, but I think I'm not here to like make money from, people that I consider like, family. It's more so like we got to help lift each other up and be able to support in any way possible. So for me, I can support people by donating my time and my talents.
Well, I mean, that's a great give back. I mean, I hope that you network a ton more and, get your name and your brand out there. So what's next? What's your future goals and what's your future plans for your company?
Well, right now we're going to be upgrading our equipment.
What kind of upgrades are you going to do?
So we're going to get this like amazing slicer. So right now it's basically a deli slicer that's automatic. So I don't need to push it, but it automatically like pulls back and like slices the bacon, but it's super time consuming. We're going to get this awesome industrial slicer that has a conveyor belt so we can have the bacon slicing automatically and be able to stack it up into like stacks of 10 slices. We're also going to be getting printed bags for our bacon. Right now we have like these craft labels that we need to like wrap around each pack of bacon. But my buddy Josh is doing his beautiful artwork on the packages of bacon. He's Ojibwe, so he's using his like Ojibwe artwork style for it. What else are we getting? Oh, I'm going to get another smoker so we can do twice as much smoking.
So do you have your own shop actually, or where are you operating out of?
I rent a commissary kitchen.
Okay.
So everybody has their own space that they rent, and you schedule, like I share my station with one other person, and we just like rotate. Like I have a set schedule, and then I have people that help me with my production. So it's like paid help. It's awesome because now I could like pay people to help me. Before I was like getting my wife to, I'm like, hey, I need you to like help me pack 500 packs of bacon. And
were you and your friends want to come over?
Yeah, exactly. So
I got some charcuterie boards for you and your friends. Yeah. I just need you guys to do all this.
Yeah, I get my sister to help me sometimes, but yeah, now I have like a pretty solid team of people that help me with production, and then the farmers market. I have a person that is consistent with doing the farmers markets too.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. What's One Arrow looking like right now?
So right now we're in a bunch of local butcher shops. So Pete's Meats, which is where I started the business, I'm in there. The Little Butcher, that's a female-owned butcher shop in Port Moody. And we have Lux Foods in Ladner. We're in Fresh Street Market, which is like a grocery chain in BC. We are in spud.ca, which is like one of our biggest accounts. So right now we're distributing them BC wide, expand hopefully into Alberta. So that's going to be super exciting. And right now I'm working with a distributor to do wholesale packs of bacon. So right now we're just doing like our individual, like, family style, like packs of bacon.
Yeah.
And we're working with a wholesaler to get like restaurant service packs of bacon, because we have lots of people that are interested from restaurant side of things. So with that slicer that we're going to get, it's going to help with production.
Yeah, it seems like it with your new upgrades. I mean, you're going to be able to do way more.
Yeah, exactly.
And be in a lot more places. So congratulations to you. I'm excited for you and your journey. Just one more question. What do you wish you had known when you first started out?
Oh, I don't know. That's like such a good question. I guess it takes a while to get started. I think that I wanted to be like, oh man, I feel like I underpriced my product. And I think you should know that any price is negotiable. You need to just keep on looking around for better prices. Don't take like the first price that someone gives you for a product. Like for ingredients and whatnot. It's like any price is negotiable. And I think you just need to be patient. I'm the most impatient person ever. Like if you ask anyone, I'll say like my weakness is impatience. You just need to be patient.
I can relate.
Yeah. Like, I want that satisfaction right away, but just know that things take time, and it's all like these little steps that happen. And then, as time passes, you're like, holy shit. Like I just came from like carting a smoker from Canadian Tire down the 3 blocks to like a little butcher shop to now having my own like shared space, and I'm getting all this crazy equipment. And you just need to like be super focused on your business. Like you just need to pour all of your energy and your like time into it. And all that time is going to pay off like, 1,000,000 times over. You just need to stay focused on it.
I hear 100% consistency.
Yeah.
You're right. Is there anything that you would like to tell people out there that may listen to this podcast who are either questioning, who have dreams and goals, but don't know where to start? Is there anything that you would like, any sort of message that you would like to give people out there?
I think it's important for people to find a really good mentor. I think it's important to like put your time in and pay your dues, and you just got to like, be there for the right reasons, like learn as much as you can. And it's super important to surround yourself with good people and people that are healthy for you, that want to see you succeed. That's just really important. I think if you surround yourself with the right people, then you're going to be going places. You don't want to be surrounded with yourself with people that are like negative, or, people that are just going to, bring you down, and people that are toxic. Just mind about who you surround yourself with. I think it's important to educate yourself. If you can take a course to upgrade in some sort of way what you're leaning towards, I think you should do it, even if it's like a food safety course or something. Like just accomplishing something, like even as small as that, gives you that validation of like, okay, you're making like another step in the right direction to,
Small progress is progress. Any progress is progress.
Yeah. It's just focus on helping yourself grow, surrounding yourself with great people, and just like be super passionate about what you're doing.
Do you have any native influencers that you look up to right now?
I'm like very into fashion, like street fashion. So I love Section 35, Urban Native Era. Like I'm buying their stuff like at least once every couple months.
Right. I know. I just have a package almost every other day. Yeah.
My friend Josh, who made the logo, he's a phenomenal artist. I look up to him. He's amazing. And
I love that logo.
Yeah.
All designs and the little pig.
Yeah. Just people on my social media I really look up to. And Inez, she's a chef in Vancouver, Salmon and Bannock. She's
I heard of that.
Yeah, she's amazing. You should interview her. She's super cool.
She responds.
Shane Chartrand, he's a chef in Edmonton. He's Cree. He was adopted as well. So I bought his book Twa, and there's just so many amazing people in our community, and it's so great to see on social media platforms that we can connect in some sort of way, give props, support each other, buy each other's books or clothes or artwork. And
I wish we could buy your bacon down here in the States.
I know,
hopefully
but
that's coming soon.
That would be so sick. I'd love that. But
right.
Yeah, I think it's great, the community that's out there and how we're seeing each other progress.
Well, I thank you very much for sharing your story, spending the time here with me today on Resilient. Appreciate your time. So where can we find you?
I don't know. I'm always on Instagram, so hit me up at One Arrow YVR.
One Arrow YVR, right?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, same One Arrow YVR, and check out my website. We do like a lot of updates about like where we're going to be at the farmers markets, and there's some really cool stuff that we're doing right now, and I can't talk about it, but yeah, just stay tuned.
Can't wait to see all your pictures and all of your content on your social media. Once again, this is Heat
Laliberte.
Laliberte. Heat Laliberte of One Arrow Meats. Again, this is Lena on Resilient. Thank you so much for joining me. Farewell. Until next time.
There were people here. And these people that lived here, basically, there were many cultures and many languages. But they were the people of this land base. And almost universally within this concept, they always referred to themselves in their own languages or culture as the people, human beings. But that was always a part of the self-identification, the identification of self, the people. And the Europeans came and they refused to recognize us as the people. They called us Indians.